Peace, peace and elevation. It's your brother Mike X and Sister Ella. It's,
Yeah, I don't know where to look.
you could look at either one of those. It's crazy because we got the green screen in back of us, and the green screen is green, for those technology buffs. But for you, you see the dope background that my brother DJ Cruz hooked up for us. And anytime I wear something that has green in it, it looks crazy. So I got this dope Bob Marley hat on. But in the Bob Marley hat, that has a logo with Bob Marley chilling. It says One Love on top of it. There's green in it. So when I turn it around, you can see like
Oh.
it looks crazy. So I'm gonna turn that back around. Hey, welcome,
Tricks.
welcome, family, to another episode of the Wake Up Project with Brother Mike X. And tonight, we're going to be talking about us, us and our most positive projection and exemplification of us. You know, um, when we first started the Wake Up Project, when I first started the Wake Up Project, I wanted to build a positive dialogue, and I wanted to present the opportunity for a positive dialogue to occur. That wasn't just based upon all of the negative injustices that have happened to us, that are continuing to happen to us. But I wanted to create a lane for those of us who have awakened, to ourselves and to our responsibility to grow. As you know better, you're supposed to fight to do better. And there's not a whole lot of us who have given ourselves permission to do that. And so a lot of us are still, caught up in bitter denunciations of racism, the system of racism, white supremacy, white skin privilege, that has brought about a black inferiority for a lot of us. And and others amongst us are the same people, while denouncing the system of racism, white supremacy, white skin privilege. A lot of us have gotten caught up in blaming, shaming, ridiculing, judging, condemning, people amongst us, the family, black people who are still caught up in their subjection to the system.
Sorry.
It's all good. The system as it is. But there's a third lane. There's a third lane, that we have to begin to take ownership of. And I've been fighting for a long time to get into that lane and to move in that lane as an individual. And that lane is called self-love, self-respect, personal dignity being exercised in my life as an individual to help me to grow past the injuries that I suffered coming up in that system of not believing in myself or believing in us as a people, which has caused undue harm, not just to us as, and when I say us, I'm talking about primarily black/African people, but also to the world. Because our contributions as a people we don't have opportunity, or we haven't been given opportunity, and we definitely haven't taken full measure of the opportunity for us to begin to look upon ourselves as human beings, as children of the Most High, as people who have power to take ownership and control over our lives and our circumstances. So the world that we're living in, not just in the black communities, but also the world that we're living in, is not nowhere to what it can be and should be and needs to be, because it has taken such a large and people out of the equation. And we have much more to give to the world than just basketball. Like I said in the former show, basketball and singing and dancing. We got more to offer to the world. We got more to offer to ourselves. And for a lot of reasons, we haven't been able to get back to that point where we're giving ourselves the permission to come out of living our lives down to the lowly standards that have been pushed through the movies and through the music and, the stereotypes that a lot of us are living down to, that is causing so much suffering in our lives. But we found that a lot of people, instead of being bold enough to lay claim to being able to love ourselves again and to being able to rise above the stereotypes, it's a very hard and difficult thing to do. I mean, even as I've started this show, I was dead set against having certain conversations about things that lead to us being stuck in talking about over and over again how we're being done wrong over and over again. Or even conversations that could be viewed as criticism of some of our people who are still stuck in indulging in certain habits and practices that not only injure themselves, but also lead to them, injuring others amongst us. And I'll be dead set that I'm not going to have these conversations. And even as I start this show off, if I'm not careful, it'll go right back into that. And so we're not going to do that tonight. We're going to talk about the fact that we are more than we have allowed ourselves to be previously. And those of us who do believe that, the best possible thing that we can begin to do is show and prove that we believe that we are more than we previously have believed ourselves to be. And so tonight we're going to talk about some of the methods that I personally am practicing to do so. The Sister Ella is personally practicing to do so. And if you want to join on, why are you laughing, sis? And if you want to join on to that much needed discussion tonight, the call-in numbers are 718-705-4959 or 914-969-6499. But even in the midst of that, me and sis, we already vibing on that level, because I saw sister living that type of life before I even met her personally. I saw her giving herself permission to love herself, in the midst of the confusion and the chaos and the racism and the bigotry and the prejudice. Mm-hmm. I saw someone who was giving herself to be that rose that grew through concrete that Tupac was talking about, And that's what, I guess what allowed me to see that in her is because I was fighting to see that in myself, So now, me and Sister Ella, we vibe on a higher level and we're striving to invite you to vibe with us. You know what I mean? So,
I like that.
Sister Ella, I'm so glad to have you back. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I was still here,
in the physical.
Yeah, still here, spiritually, connected and, always wanting to be present. So here I am, and I'm glad to be here. Mm-hmm. I'm just laughing because, like you said, even as you open up the show, it's it's a working on ourselves that we have to do to live up to the things that we want, to the way that we want to be. It's so easy for us to fall back into the ways that we don't want to be,
Mm-hmm.
that we have been there, done that. It's very easy for us to keep those conversations open because we're still connected to those people, and we're still in the same, community, and we're still seeing the same things on TV. So it's easy for us to remain, in that, within that thought process. But when we're working on getting out of it, it's definitely funny to see how easily we fall back into it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it's funny when I catch myself doing it. Even in the process of talking about growth, you bring yourself back. So it's funny, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that we're gonna talk about. I laugh a lot in within this expansion process because it's it's just just waking up. It's when you laugh, the element of surprise is there. So it's just like, wow, like I used to do that, and when you used to do it, it wasn't funny. But now that you look back, it's like, what was I thinking? So I'm going to be laughing a lot here tonight. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Brother Mike. I love talking to you everywhere, on and off the camera. So.
Already. Already. Sis, wow. When I was awakened, to the truth, that there has been a system, practiced in America, um, of subjugation, of keeping our people, even though slavery, physical slavery, ended, so long ago, so to speak, almost 160 years ago, coming up on 170 years, give or take, 65, whatever. Um, there still has been an effort, that have been made to disconnect us from the truth and from finding ourselves, um, and being able to take advantage of the freedom of being human beings, of being children of the Most High. And upon finding out that there was a system that was put forward to keep us from finding ourselves, it generated a whole lot of anger. As I began to commit myself to the process of disconnecting myself from participating in that system, in a way that would keep me and others, like me, particularly black, brown, so to speak. I was very angry for a long time. And to now be sitting at this juncture where I can smile with you, but still feel the same way in some regards, but be able to smile, it represents that healing.
Right.
Peace, and elevation. Welcome to the Wake Up Project. Please tell us who's calling and what you have on your mind this evening.
Hey, bro, this is Jessica.
Hey,
Calling
what?
from Chicago.
Already.
Peace, Jessica.
Peace, sis. How you doing tonight?
Good. So I was smiling when I was listening to the conversation that you guys are having, because I just had this conversation last night with a friend of mine, and one thing we were talking about was like healing, and the part of healing is learning to discipline yourself so that you don't go back to the previous mindset or the ways of the way you used to do things before. Once you know better, you do better. And so one of the main things, as you and I have spoke about is it's about me wanting to, move forward in business as an entrepreneur. And I have been getting like really discouraged in doing so because it just seemed like you just kind of get stuck in the mindset of having a career because that's more of a, like consistent income, and for sure if you work, you're going to get this money, this and that, versus going out and just believing in yourself, believing in the gift that the Creator has blessed you with, and just putting forth positive energy, in the universe amongst people, just loving things like that. And you know that you have all of that, but still there's a part of you that questions whether or not you have what it takes to really go forth. And so, one thing that we were talking about is credit. And the reason why I say that is because he was saying that it's very important. Like, credit is almost like power. You cannot have no money, but if you have outstanding credit, then you can go in and you can get whatever you want. You can purchase whatever you want. You can get this loan. You can do that. And then that gives you the ability to be able to finance what you're trying to do. And so I think another thing, a part of healing, and becoming woke is understanding, like, what it takes in order to move forward in society and be self-sufficient without having to depend on, working for someone else and being a slave to the mentality of a 9-to-5 job versus using what you've been blessed with to open up doors for you to have a substantial life, and not only for you to have a substantial life, but for the family and the community be blessed and be they have the ability to have jobs and to gain employment and to give knowledge and things like that. I mean, through your experience, but when we take what we've learned and we apply it, and then we see that it's opening up doors and it's expanding, then people are going to question, what are you doing? What did it take for you to get there? What was your journey? How did you learn from this? And then that opened up doors for you to be able to share, your knowledge and how you had to learn from your mistakes so that person doesn't have to, go back and do the same.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we're planning on talking about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting into, what can we do to be self-sufficient in our, on our journey to understanding who we are, and taking responsibility, that we get to a point where we don't have to be on a clock and, be, a slave, to the system,
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely going to get into that and, ways of being, like I said, self-sufficient, independent, and, having a place in our community where we create opportunities for others. So we're planning on, having that definitely be a part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's great. Yeah, because I think that's part of taking responsibility of your life. I think that's where you understand that if I'm trying to finance this dream, then I'm gonna have to sacrifice on the back end. As long as my necessities are taken care of, all that extra stuff, I can just do without and constantly put money aside. I think a lot of times, another thing why we so stuck in 9 to 5 is because we don't save. We don't manage well. We don't manage our time. We don't manage our finances. We kind of just splurge in all areas. And discipline is one of the main factors in anything when you're trying to move forward in business. You have to have discipline because you have to be able to maintain that business. You have to be able to maintain the books. You have to be able to maintain the people, all of that. So discipline is a very key factor. And that's something that us as a people, we have to learn how to do. And I think another thing is because of our parents, if you go back down the generations, you think what you just saying, slavery ended like, 100 and something years ago. So we're not that far removed from it. So the mentality that was passed down through the generations is almost like, they had to constantly work, and they really didn't see the fruits of their labor like that. But now as the generation goes on, we can now see that what the work ethic that our foreparents had, we can take that, but also now that we have access to more knowledge and information, we can use that. And a lot of times our parents didn't really instill in us the importance of a career. We just more so wanted a job so that we can keep, finances coming in or be able to sustain our life. But now it's beyond just keeping finances to sustain. Now it's finances to save so that we can, again, finance the dream. So that we can get out the 9 to 5. And that's how, once we start having more, like you said, opportunities in the community, then that way that can bring us together as a people as well.
No doubt, sis. No doubt. All right, sis. So we're gonna open up the line, but I definitely appreciate you coming through. I definitely appreciate the life that you're living. that allows you to share, you know, your perspective and the strength and the encouragement that you're imparting, you know, to the listeners. I definitely appreciate that as well. And so, you know, the best way for us to begin to help our people to move from the fear, the doubt, you know, the self-hatred on some levels, the participation in certain habits and customs that have been reinforced and ingrained through various methods, you know, that we see in our neighborhoods, is for those of us who know better now to continuously fight to begin to do better, you know, and give ourselves permission, and don't worry about who might be hating, or don't worry about who's not supporting. You know what I mean? But you make sure that you just stay committed and continue to move, you know, and use and utilize your life and utilize whatever resources that you have to the best of your ability, you know, because a lot of times when we start to take stock of the resources that we really have, and we begin to tear ourselves out of the habits of, you know, misspending, like you mentioned earlier, we'll find that we got more resources at our disposal than we actually thought that we had. You know, as not only just individually but collectively as well. You know, some statistics that I've heard, you know, it's staggering the amount of money that they say black folks spend, you know, on sneakers, on alcohol, on cigarettes, on a lot of things that we believe that we can't do without, you know. But one of the reasons why we feel that we can't do without some of these things is because we haven't reconnected ourselves to the truth of our existence. Not just what was done to us, but also the truth of who we were created to be, potentially, you know, and the gifts and talents and that each one of us has inside of us, if we would only give ourselves permission to dig down deep within our subconscious to bring out the truth of who we are and who we were created to be and who we are being maintained to be. Because if you're still alive, no matter what condition that you find yourself in, you know, no matter what trauma you may have gone through, no matter what scars or hurt that you might be suffering through, if you continue to wake up, you know, from my perspective, that means that there is something for you to do. You know, there's something for you to do. There's a level that's meant for you to strive to climb up to, you know, because when your part of the story's over, it's over. And there ain't no waking up. You know what I mean? It's just over. So as long as you continue to wake up, that means that there's a reason for your existence. You know? And the main thing that you have to do, that you have to commit yourself to do as an individual, is to fight to find the most positive purpose for that existence. And this is when you begin to join on, you know, to the company that we're building tonight. You know what I mean? And I definitely thank you for, you know, participating, sis, in that.
Yeah, no problem. And just to, real quick, just to add on to what you're saying, to be exact, last I checked, statistics says that as a black folks, us as consumers, we're $1 billion industry. $1 billion, and that's a lot of money. As consumers. So that's definitely, like, as what you said, that's a lot to think about. You know, that's something, not even so much a lot to think about, but that's something to really take into consideration, because what could have been done with those $1 billion? Yeah. So, yeah, bro. So I'm here. I'm tuned in, and I'm definitely I'm gonna stay with you.
All right, family.
Okay.
Thank you, Jessica.
All right, no problem, Ellie. Talk to y'all soon.
All right. Yeah, one of the people on the line said that the volume's kind of low, brother. I don't know if we can turn it up a little bit. And turn up your
Are y'all hearing us well? Is your volume up?
Turn up your phone or your laptop or your desktop or whatever it is, you know. So we're gonna work this out.
Big voice.
We're gonna work this out together. You know, yeah. They say that the black community, I've heard it over $1 trillion. It's not just $1 billion.
Right. Yeah.
That over $1 trillion, you know, goes out of the black community every year. And there's a lot of people who have set up careers based upon us not reconnecting ourselves to the full measure and expression of our humanity, and our godliness, to learn how to move forward and upwards from being the downtrodden, being the victims, being second class, being, the taken advantage of, to moving into our own healing and moving into utilizing our time and utilizing our lives on a higher level, and part of that is being able to reconnect to the truth, to know. And I was talking about before Jessica called in, I was talking about how when I found out in my early 20s that to be black didn't just mean that you was the N word or the B word. To be black didn't just mean that you was a drug dealer or a drug user, or to be criminal by nature, or to be a high school dropout like I was on my way to becoming. Once I found out that there was a system that had been maintained, to keep us from being able to unify ourselves so that we can pool our resources as a cohesive community, a village, so to speak. I was definitely very angry for a number of years. Mm-hmm. And I had gotten a name. I was called Young, Angry, and Black. I mean, there was a lot of things. And what was crazy about it is I embraced it. I embraced being young, angry, and black. And I operated my life from a position of being young, angry, and black for a number of years.
In which there are still so many people out there.
That's right.
Representing their anger.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And like I said on a previous show, I believe that anger is necessary sometimes, especially when you find yourself in an abusive relationship that you're, not getting the best out of, being in that relationship. Sometimes in order to separate yourself from an abusive relationship, one of the first things is you gotta become angry.
Anger could be a catalyst, yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's what my beginning it was, in my awakening. I was angry because I was broke to me. To me, I was broke. When we talk about black people and how much money we have, I was broke, and that made me angry. And it also made me, depressed, made me feel like I wasn't adequate enough as a parent. And then I began to ask questions, and then I came into a place finding out, the setup and that the system had, on my community more in depth, more than what I knew about slavery or what I knew about segregation and Jim Crow and all of that. It was more, real. It was a lot of detail in it, going into the banking system and Illuminati and all of this information that I found out. And that made me angry and paranoid. Mm-hmm. But it definitely helped me to find out about myself and my, my history beyond slavery, which I never thought about. We hear about, we saw a Remember the Time video and, we felt a little bit like a queen or a king, but not really because we didn't really have the information. So, doing a lot of research and meeting great people in, the realm of where my mind and my thought process was, I met people and I got, tons of whatever I was looking for. That's what I found. I was looking for information on my history and where I came from and, and where I might have come from and the culture that I didn't have and things like that. And then I began to, have pride in that. But also I was angry because I still was paying attention to the things that were going on in our communities across the country, the injustices that were happening, and I was really really angry and hateful, towards certain people. And I didn't like how that felt, so I had to continue to grow, to a point where love was my ultimate goal, to be. And the truth that I made for myself, without following any groups or anything like that, and kind of stepping outside of the things that I learned and actually finding within myself how I really wanted to be. So, through that anger, it definitely brought on so much for me in my life to the point where I am now. And I still get angry.
Yeah. Family, this show, what I want to do with this show, what I've wanted to do with this show, we've been on now for 5 months almost, is I want you, I hope to encourage you to get in contact with the best possible you. For years now, if I could do anything and nothing more, I would be comfortable with this. If I could help to take away every single excuse that you may have made and that others amongst us have made from continuing to comfortably suffer in relationships, in places, on lower levels of expression, whether it be in a job that you don't want to work, or whether it be in a neighborhood that you feel like you don't have the power to change or leave. That's a hell of a position to be in. Mm-hmm. And some of us feel like that. Some of us take stock of, the black and brown neighborhoods that we live in, and we see a community. Well, actually, we don't see a community. We see a neighborhood that we feel like we don't, some of us feel like we don't have any power to impact this neighborhood. And on top of that, we feel like there's nowhere for me to go. I don't have the resources to go anywhere else. And then on top of that, a lot of us feel like this is the only life that I have, or the only way to live this life that I have. And when you feel like that, depression, anxiety, fear and doubt begin to take over your life. And then to get away from the fear, the anxiety, the low self-esteem and other things that comes along with that, a lot of us, we turn to drugs, alcohol, excessive partying, a lot of different things. This is where the money is going. I got to get my nails done. I got to get my mani and pedi. Some of the sisters gonna get mad like, yo, I was with you till you started talking about my mani and pedi. I ain't giving up my mani and pedi.
Take care of yourself. Get your hair done.
Now, I think that we should be able to dress good and look good, but it shouldn't come at the expense of being able to fund and invest in our own dreams. It shouldn't come at the expense of us knowing that we can begin to take ownership of the neighborhoods that we live in the same way that we see other racial ethnic groups doing in theirs. And a lot of that starts in the individual. Mm-hmm. It starts in the individual fighting
all of it
to see themselves on that higher level.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely got to make peace with learning, with doing the knowledge, so to speak. Because it may start with you disconnecting yourself from the system and believe, and all of the things that have happened in the past, and even on some of the things that are happening now. But it can't just end with you walking around, with this consciousness of, bitterness and anger, but still dependency, and that's a conundrum. Like you're rebuking the system, but you're still in a dependency on the system, and which makes you doubly mad. What are you talking about, Brother Mike? A lot of times I'm in the community and I see all of the businesses owned and controlled by people who don't live in the community. And a lot of times don't have the type of respect for the consumers who come into their establishments, don't really have the respect for the fact that I'm very important and I should be treated as such. So, sometimes, number one, that we should have some type of ownership of in our own communities. Take an example, as far as the business establishments, you don't necessarily know how to get there yourself. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you might not find other people who want to help to find out, how we can actually maybe open up our own business so that we can patronize our own business and begin to create that type of relationship with the people in our community, one of respect, one of appreciation and dignity. So you go into that store, you're already mad at the system, and then you're even more mad at the fact that you gotta, you can't break out of this paradigm now at this point. So you can allow yourself to stay stuck in that. Or you can begin to say, well, I need to upgrade. I need to upgrade myself. And if I can't find anyone who wants to participate in that, then I have to have courage enough to do it by myself, at least in the beginning stage. It's not good enough. What I'm saying is, for some of us who consider themselves to be more conscious, it's not good enough to be young, angry, and black, to disconnect yourself from a previous association with the system if you're not going to move towards now claiming the type of life that you want to live. Mm-hmm. It's not good enough to be against something, especially if you're only against it or only able to be against it psychologically. But as far as your physical needs is concerned, you might be in a position where you want to be against it psychologically, but you can't be against it physically. Or you can only be against it physically for as long as you're not hungry. I'm talking about boycotting and protesting, and those of us who are caught up in that type of paradigm, believing that that's the only way that we can live our lives at this point. Like feeling like the only way that business ownership is not for black people, or real estate ownership and development is not for black people. That's for other people. You get what I'm saying? Now, some of us who have already tested the limits of, black consciousness are now realizing that we got to upgrade ourselves. I need to go back to school and I might need to learn business, business creation, business management, So now, instead of feeling that the only way that I can live my life is I got to have money, everything is about money so that I can buy the food that I need, so that I can pay my rent, so that I can do some of the other things that allows me to get through, the depression and the anxiety. I got to have money enough for my cigarette habit. I got to have money enough to, to hit the bar at the end of the week, to to drown out, certain feelings of whatever I'm feeling, believing that, because I'm misplaced as far as my career. You follow me? There is a higher level of existence that the individual has to begin to exhibit. And what is that, Brother Mike? I've been sharing what that is for me. I'm sharing from that and what that is for me. And to be honest with you, like I said, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of what that is for me. Because the first 20, 21 years of my life was lived in an ignorance, in a self-hatred, in the fog of self-doubt and fear of what it means to be black. I didn't know what life was about for the first 21 years of my life. I was living life under the conception of what is known as black inferiority. And now, for the next 30, well, not give or take, I would say the next 20 years was trying to undo all of the psychological trauma and damage that had occurred in the first 20 years of my life. And not just the first 20 years of my life, but the psychological trauma that had occurred in my parents' life. And their parents' life. And going back, if you add up all of the trauma that we've been struggling to deal with, going back generations, to where now we're alive and we're struggling and we're trying to figure out how to get this thing right so that we don't pass our insecurities, and our anxiety and our depression and our lack of belief in ourselves as individuals and belief in our people on to our children. Like, these is the stakes that we are playing for, Sis, jump in here, because I need to come up for air.
Yeah, what I had in mind was that, we as individuals are representatives of our whole community. It's all relative. Me as who I am, as this person and this body, this mind, is a community. And we're looking for, connections, and we're looking for opportunities, and we're looking for, us coming together in a community. But if we're not together ourselves, if we're not connected with the higher part of who we are, then our community is a representation of who we are as individuals. And if the majority of us don't know who we are, then our community represents that. Our community represents people who don't know who they are. And other communities represent people who do. And that's how we give away what we have, and other people benefit off of not only what we have, but what they have within themselves. We can't take the credit away from them and the way that they take care of themselves. We really can't do that. We just have to do it for ourselves, which means that me as the individual, have to take care of this community right here. This community right here, my heart, my mind. I have to take care of who I am so that I could be a better person. And, now I'm connecting with my neighbor who's taking care of who they are, who's building within themselves. It's not about the money. We have the money, right? But we're looking at the money like it's not ours because we feel like we don't have it. So therefore we don't, even though it's in our hands, but we feel we don't have it. So therefore it goes to the people who we think have it, and we give it away to them because we think they have it and we don't. And we're perpetuating this mindset, and therefore that's what our life is. That's what our life has been, and that's what our life will continue to be if we don't take the authority over who we are as individuals. We're talking about having authority in our community where we can't even have authority over us, or we think we can't. But we don't. What does that mean, right? We don't know. What does that mean to you, having authority over who you are?
Phone call. All right. We got a phone call. Peace and elevation. Welcome to the Wake Up Project. Please tell us who you are and where you calling from.
Hello, what's going on, Mike? Hey, what's going on, Pam? This is Kende.
Hey,
Hey.
Kende.
Calling it.
Peace, family.
Peace, y'all. Peace, king and queen. I'm from the Bronx. And I'm listening to the conversation. And
Hold up, family. You breaking up a little bit. Come again.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Perfect. I just wanted to just put my input in there. Money versus strategy. And, we have the money. A lot of us are working. A lot of us are working really, really, really good jobs. A lot of us are working jobs that aren't so great. However, able to pay the bills and do those types of things. But I really believe that it's not about the money. It's not the money situation. It's more about strategy. It's more about strategy. Thinking outside the box, strategically, maneuvering those dollar bills into, stocks and bonds, things that, that make more money, So, I just wanted to put my input in there. It's more so money versus strategy, because you can have no money and, let's say, call up Will Smith and ask him to donate, or call up Oprah Winfrey. These people have billions and millions of dollars, but we're so scared that these people are so famous that we have no access to them, and all you have to do is Google Will Smith personal information, and there goes his number.
Right, you're right. It's not about the money. Yeah, it's about the way that you use your intellect. Like you can take trips without spending money on the trips, but it's that mind power that you have to have. People who are successful, they get a lot of gifts. They spend way less money than we probably think they actually spend. It's just the name that they have that gets them to where to a lot of places that the individual who doesn't think that their name stands for anything won't get. And it's all a matter of how we think about ourselves and who we are that keeps us where we are or takes us where we want to go. So thank you, Brother Kende, for that. Definitely strategy. The strategy is in the mindset. That's where it is for everything. For everything.
And the mindset is influenced or created by the information that you take in, the conversations that you have. So there's something that you said, brother. There's two things that I want to put out there. Now, you just said that you live in the Bronx.
Yes, I do. I live in the Bronx.
All right. I live in the Bronx. Sis, she lives in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things that we need to do right now, and I'm putting this out as a challenge, is, those of us who are on the same mental, spiritual vibration, and who are in the closest proximity to one another, to where there should be no excuse for why we don't make the time and the effort to connect and to get together so that we can share energy with one another. And hopefully, as we share energy with one another, we can begin to manifest actions, initiatives, things that will set the tone or set the pace or be an example for other people who may find themselves in the same situations that we find ourselves in. Because like we said on a show a couple of shows ago, that as divided and disoriented as we find ourselves in Black America, and when I say Black America, I'm talking about all of the various Black neighborhoods across this country. As divided and disoriented as we are, there is a unity that we have through the conditions and the conditioning in those neighborhoods. You find the same situations 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, you find the same situations. You know, when you take a look at the schools, when you take a look at the preponderance of liquor stores and storefront churches and politicians that, you know, a lot of times that are there for their particular political career, but are not necessarily connected to representing the people in the best possible situation. We have the same conditions and the same conditioning across America in these neighborhoods, these inner city neighborhoods, which puts us in the prime position where if a small group of us can just disconnect ourselves from looking at life from the outside and beginning to live life from the inside, so that we can begin to build up the confidence, the courage, you know, the strategy, like you said, and finding out who I am as an individual. So that when I meet with Sister Ella, I'm not meeting with Sister Ella as someone who is caught up in being afraid and not knowing who I am and not coming with the best person that I can present myself as. You know, I'm saying all that to say in my long-winded way of saying it, that we got to come together, man. And I'm definitely committed, family. We already friends on Facebook and on social media. And I think that, we need to start building. We need to start connecting, especially those of us who are in close enough proximity to where it's not about a plane ride, even though we got to grow to the point where even a plane ride doesn't serve as an insurmountable barrier, you know? You know what I mean? But particularly if it's about jumping on the highway and driving over the Whitestone, you know what I mean? Or getting on the Grand Concourse. I don't know which part of the Bronx you in, but we gotta get together. Cause I live in the North Bronx. You know?
Where you at, Kende?
I'm in the South.
Okay. So that, you know, it's what? It's 15. It's a 15-minute drive. You know, or maybe a half an hour train trip. But we got to come together. The second part I wanted to say right quick that you brought up, brother, is when you mentioned Will Smith or you mentioned Oprah Winfrey, you know, and in the past, you know, we had this ongoing, some of us has had this ongoing dialogue where bitter denunciation and condemnation of people like Oprah, of people like Will Smith, of people like Michael Jordan or others amongst us who are more well-to-do or well-off than we are. Seemingly. And you've had people in the community a lot of times, where that money at? Yo, how come you ain't come through the hood yet? You know, when you gonna come and break us off something? Now, one thing that I want to say, and then we're gonna move on from this, is you in the community. It's not just about you staying stuck in mediocrity. It's not just about you staying stuck in apathy, you know, where you're not necessarily committing yourself towards showing, you know, some type of personal drive to create something. You know, you got resources of your own. You know, you got to show and prove. Try to build something. Try to build something first. Try to build a weekend mentoring program. You know what I mean? Try to build, you know, whatever. You know, try.
I have a nonprofit.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you, brother. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about that mindset a lot of times where some of us, instead of us giving ourselves the responsibility to try to use what we have before we put it on a Will Smith or Oprah, you know what I mean, to come through with some money. We have.
It's not just about money. It's like for example, right? Let's say you don't have the money, right? Because it's not about the money. Let's say you don't have the money, but this individual who does have the money, see, what you want to do is you want to spark their interest, because just, you know, people are saying what you're saying. They're like, why they not coming through? Why they not investing in our neighborhoods? Well, spark spark their interest.
That's what I'm
Make
saying,
them
brother.
more interested in coming into our neighborhoods by displaying strategy. See, it has to benefit both parties. It has to benefit them. They have to see how this benefits them. And if they're looking at what, if it benefits them, more than likely they're going to spend the money. They're more likely to
That's what I'm
right?
saying. And I said it in a long, a long way. I went all the way around the block with it a couple of times when I could have just said it like you. I'm saying to the people in the neighborhoods, we have to commit ourselves to using our time, using our resources in a better way, to where we begin to create a personal resume of efforts, positive efforts that would attract someone like a Will Smith or someone like a Oprah to say, well, yo, I'm gonna give this person an opportunity. I can see what they're trying to do. And I can see maybe I'm gonna take away one of the impediments, that might be stopping them from growing as fast as they might want to grow, which might be the money aspect. But I can already see from the time and the effort that this person is sincere, that this person is really trying to bring forth a positive work in their lives and in their neighborhood. So that's what, I agree with you, but I'm saying that instead of you not committing yourself the way you're committing yourself, and you just sitting back and you just have the mindset of, yo, Oprah, you got money, so you should just come and use your money to do something in my neighborhood, and you haven't shown and proved that you're committed to doing something, of your own in your neighborhood, that is not a realistic situation. And this is why a lot of times people who want to give and help the neighborhoods that they come from, this is why they give their money to the Red Cross, or they give their money to certain other established entities, that have bank accounts, that have, 501c3, or have, they're incorporated, or they've shown the footwork to where they can receive that money. Because nobody's just going to come into a community and just give their money with there not being any type of way to judge how that money is being utilized in the effort of, bringing change to the community. That's my point.
That's very much true.
Yeah.
Very much true. I've had the pleasure. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm very intelligent, very intelligent person, and this is just for the people. This is just for the people, right? But I've met millionaires. I was employed by millionaires, right? I've met international bankers. People that fund countries. A lot of people that can't say that because what people respect, they respect your intelligence. And it's like people, when you say, get into yourself, when you say, you have to find who you are, people are thinking, I don't know if they're listening, because what you're saying is so vital, right? You have to get into yourself. Because the people that have the money, these people that I've met personally and sat down, shook their hands, done, they done bought me things, gave me gifts, you know what I mean? I done sat in these people's living rooms. I done met their associates, So what you're saying is vital. What people respect, and I was just in Brooklyn. I was in Dumbo, Brooklyn, which is considered either the first or second most richest neighborhood in Brooklyn. I got these people's phone. I got people's phone numbers. I got people's phone numbers in my phone. Rich people they just do whatever. But my point is this: you have to grow up. You have to grow up within inside of yourself. You're in a world. A lot of these people's in this world. A lot of people want to make money. They want to do all these things. But how does your inner world look? How
Exactly.
When you look into the mirror, what are you seeing?
Yes, your inner world. Your inner world. Thank you, Brother Kende.
Yes.
Thank you for calling. I'm a build on what you're saying right now. The
Thank
inner
you,
world.
family.
Absolutely. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Your inner world. Because I'm a little bit getting annoyed that we're talking a lot about money. And that is not our issue. That's not our problem. Like the being known as Shanice Starr would say, money is not the issue. Shout out to you. Money is not our community problem. That's not our problem. You know, how many people tonight think of your whole day? When have you, like, what was your highest joyous moment in the day? How rich were you at that moment? How much money you had at that moment? The same amount of money you had at your lowest point of the day or maybe the week. It's not about our issues, our problems are not about money. It's about our spirit. It's about our level of knowing within ourselves and who we truly are. We are not lacking of money. That is not the defining element of who we are as a people. And we really need to kind of bring the conversation away from the businesses and the money and how much money we have as a people. And we really need to focus on finding ourselves and working on what makes us, what gives us the spark. You know, what is it, what talent do you have that fills you? You know, that makes you feel like you just had, you know, like you just went to Disney World or whatever. Like bringing the element that makes us feel like that. What is it that makes you feel like life is worth living? You know, what is it that makes you smile? You know, that makes you laugh to tears? We want to get to that. That's what we want. And we feel like money is what brings us those moments, but it's not. Because if anybody answer my question in your head or out loud, what's the highest point of your day, the highest point of your week that you just know that you just felt your greatest? How much money did you have at that moment? We need to build on ourselves internally to where we can get to having more of those moments, regardless of whether we have money or not. And I promise you that that's what I'm working on, and that's what's going to bring me my abundance in every way. So as long as we're sitting here talking about how much money our community have and what it don't have and what businesses we need to support and how we need to, you know, none of that stuff matters if inside we're not working on this inner community, on this inner world. So let's divert, you know, from talking about that. You know, excuse me if I'm offending anybody, but,
I'm offended,
you know, let's move forward.
Nah, I'm not offended. I'm not offended. I want to say peace right quick to everyone who's come through on the Facebook Live.
Yes, peace, y'all.
Feed. Brother Reggie, Brother Ken Day, who we just heard from, Sister Nura, Brother Oliver, Sister Tanya, Sheldon, my brother Shamel, Uncle Al, Justin, Tanya.
That's my cousin. My cousin, my aunt is on there. Gloria, Aunt Natalie.
Favorite Positive Jackson. What up? Brother Mark. Blanche.
Yeah, that's my aunt.
Okay.
All the Braxtons in a line.
Yeah.
My children, any of you watching? Xavier, Adrian, Shalea,
Sister Bren.
Ramel, Donovan.
I think somebody
Rashawn.
called you a rock star or something. I don't know.
I saw that, Xavier. Yes, you a rock star too.
Mm-hmm. Sister Tanya says people are lazy or too tired from working, too hard to take the time to tap into their God-given talents or not consistent in their doing. I think, and it's crazy, because me and Sis, we were talking about this show, and I think I've gone in my time as an awakened spirit, you know, an awakened being, you know, and some of that, you know, I was awakened consciously, but emotionally I was out of balance, you know, and how I was using my consciousness and how I was using my ability to learn, to study and to learn, it was feeding that emotional imbalance, you know, of looking at how someone else I believed was preventing me or preventing us from living our best life. Whether it was the system or whether it was the so-called ignorance of the people. You know how some of us are caught up in that mindset of, yo, we could do this and we could do that if only the people would wake up. And I was there at one point in time until I realized that energy flows where your attention goes. Whatever you focus on will become empowered. Wherever you're focused on will become larger and larger and larger until it takes over the attention of everybody who's connected to it. And at some point in time, about, I would say, when did The Secret come out? For my conscious people, The Secret. The book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Her name is spelled RHONDABYRNE. I was impacted by The Secret. I was impacted by the law of attraction. You know, and that whatever you focus on becomes empowered to the detriment of, or, you know, depending upon how you look at it, the opposite of what it is that you're focused on. When I had my realization that embracing the persona of being young, angry, and black and focusing on all the wrong that had been done and is being done was not the best possible way for me to live the life that I'm living, that I want to live, to have the impact that I want to have. I want to help to free our people, particularly, and all people, to come out of living the same old status quo paradigm. But I wasn't doing that. I was holding people to an account.
Okay.
Instead of challenging, you know, not just challenging them, but challenging myself to show and prove that we do have the ability to take assessment of our lives. We do indeed have the ability as individuals, as if we must, to step away from the masses. If everybody is, you said something that I wish you would have wrote down. I was just thinking about it when we was talking about the masses. But anyway, you know how your mom say, if everybody, you know, like you do something wrong and your mom catch you and you say, well, such and such was doing it and such was doing it, and your mom hits you with, if everybody is jumping off a cliff, are you going to jump too? And obviously, you know, the answer is no. But you know what? We violate that every single day.
Yeah.
When presented with that question, if everybody jumps off a cliff, would you jump too?
Yes.
The common sense answer is no. But a lot of us, we jump off that cliff every single day.
Yeah. I see it every time something is something, like people are looking at something, and then everybody's looking over. One person look to then everybody else looks. Most people will jump. Most people will run. Most people will. Most definitely. Yeah.
I've seen those types of pranks on social media. Yeah. You know, where they did the prank where somebody, you know, is walking, they're minding their business, and they would have a camera across the street, and then somebody would just come and just say, and just start running past them and say, yo, run. And the person would like look at the person running, and then they would start running too. They don't even know what they're running from.
Yes.
Or
I've done it.
Yeah. But see, this is the time and the place in my life, in your life, where we got to begin to give ourselves permission to be who we were created to be. You know, instead of living our lives down to the stereotypes or to, you know, to the same old status quo that we've been living our lives down to. Because it's not just ourselves that we are violating. But it's Wow. And it's not just our children that we're violating, even though we are violating our children. But it's the people who lived before us, who did all that they could to strive to give us this opportunity that we have right now. This world will go under if it sticks with the same old status quo paradigm, and all of us just fit into the paradigm, whether we believe in the paradigm or not. Because I don't believe that everybody believes in the paradigm of racism, white supremacy, white skin privilege. I don't believe that all white people are racists. But I think sometimes that people don't want to take the type of stands that are unpopular amongst their family, amongst the friend, the associates that they have grown up with and live around. You know what I mean? I know, and coming as a black man, I know that there are some, they don't want to let go of certain habits, certain customs, certain friendships, certain associations to take the type of stands that they need to take for them to live a more empowered life as a man, as a woman, as a husband, as a father. But they're afraid of how they're going to be regarded, from their associates. So instead of me saying something, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, because when you open up your mouth, a lot of times there's going to be a repercussion to that. But I say we need to work our way up to some of the bigger steps. Some of the more easier steps is like Brother Kende was saying, you taking stock over yourself. And you getting sick and tired of being sick and tired of maybe not living the type of life that you want to live. And you stop pinning the hopes of you being able to live that type of life on who's going to live it with you. Mm-hmm. And then you blame the people who don't want a better life according to your perception of what a better life means. You blame them for you not stepping into the better life that you say you want. Because if you really want that better life, that wanting that better life has to become so important to you that you don't care who's with you. You don't care who's with you. You're going to go after that better life that you say you want. No matter who doesn't want to get out with you on the track. Mm-hmm. You telling your significant other, yo, we need to go walking. We need to go jogging. We need to do something. We're not as healthy as we used to be. And your significant other, for whatever reason, doesn't have the same conviction that you have. Does that stop you from leading by example? Does that stop you from fighting with yourself and not allowing your flesh to have its way? Oh, I'm too tired to get out there. But how serious are you about wanting to get right is the question.
Because a lot of times we want it to be we. We make, as a matter of fact, in marriage terms, it's all about we. It's coming together, combining. So if my husband is not doing it, then I can't do it. Is that true?
Yeah.
And then if you do it, oh my goodness, like what are you going to find on your way? Like who are you going to find, as a matter of fact? Who else is out there jogging? Who else is out there taking care of themselves while your husband is inside, waiting for you to come home and cook that dinner that you might not want to eat because you're trying to take care of yourself and he just wants to be the same way. Mm-hmm. So, when you think of we can definitely hold you back if you let it, because we make a lot of promises and dedications, to things that we have, we thought in the past that we wanted to be attached to this thing for the rest of our lives. And so when we make that promise and we make that, that declaration and we sign these contracts and we put our right hands up and our hand on our chest and we say we're going to be here forever, then we don't want to break that because we're not living up to the promise that we made. So how much do we do that in our lives, whether it's done in a church or whether it's done, in a court or wherever it's done in your home, to whoever, how much do we do that? And then we try to live up to it even when it comes to the point where it's fighting against you, where it's taking away from you making a decision to better yourself. Mm-hmm. How many promises have you made to whoever that you were going to be there with them through thick and thin, through the dirt, through, sun and rain, and then you woke up and say, you know what, today I want to do something for myself. But then you thought about the promise that you made to them, and therefore you didn't make that promise to yourself to do something new. How many of us are doing that, have done it, and continue to do it? How many of you are planning on doing that tomorrow, even though you have something else on your heart that you want to do for yourself? The promise that you made for next week, Monday, that you don't want to do today, and you don't want to do it because you want to be somewhere else on Monday. Mm-hmm. Those simple things is you fighting against your true self because of because you want to be loyal to other people, to other groups, to your best friend, even to your child sometimes. Mm-hmm. When it's fighting against you and who you truly are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My mom says, seems like you forgotten your mama.
My mother is watching. We was reading the names going down. I have an excuse for that. We were reading the names. But yes, my mother's watching. My great-grandmother, who just turned 95, if I'm correct, in Ohio, is watching. Yes, y'all. So I'm going to be here for a while. Okay? Yeah.
So how
I love y'all, my family.
How can I forget my mom? I just didn't go down that.
Oh, your mother. Oh, yeah. Well, my aunt.
I don't know which one your mom is.
You forgot your mother. Oh, that's your mother.
My mom says, it seems like I forgot my mom.
Okay. Well, my aunt said I forgot my mother too, so.
Yeah. Yeah, family. This show, I want you to find your best self, your most creative self. I'm not asking you to take on any marginalized allegiance to any box, any narrow-minded conception, because a lot of times these boxes are used to corral people, to control people, and what do you mean? What are you talking about, these boxes? I mean, whether it's allegiance to a particular culture, allegiance to a particular religion or spiritual system of belief. I'm not anti, religion, but I'm definitely not I'm not pro, one religion or one culture or one spiritual system over the other either. Just like, and I talked about this on an earlier show, whatever religious, cultural, spiritual system of belief that you may have adopted to help you to live a more prosperous or more purposeful life, that's between you and your higher self. My responsibility is to take the most positive, creative ownership over my life and to live that life as best as I can, as best as I could. To order my life in a particular type of way where I'm maintaining that life at its optimum level at all times for as long as the life is mine. And there was a time in the past when I wasn't operating this life in the best balanced type of way. By nature, I'm a student. I'm someone who studies, who learns. That's my primary drive. That's who I was created to be. That's what I do. And I've read thousands of books over the years. and trying to connect myself to the truth. But I wasn't always focused on submitting myself to the top level of truth that I know across the full breadth of the life that I'm living. So at one point in time, diabetes, and I talked about this, diabetes was about 2 or 3 years ago. I was on my way out of it 2 years ago. Because I was more focused on, gotta save the people. I gotta study. I gotta learn. I gotta help. You know, I gotta kick some science. I gotta drop some knowledge, man. And in the process, I was violating the laws of what it takes to maintain this physical form. And diabetes was getting the best of me. It was kicking my behind. And let's keep it real. It wasn't diabetes. As if diabetes is a person, right? As if diabetes is
diabetes.
Is a gang.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Trying to find sweetness. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You're trying to find the sweetness in life.
You hear how I'm making it sound? Diabetes was doing this and diabetes was doing that. No, diabetes was something that manifested itself because I was violating laws of eating, you know, especially in this system that we're living in. And sister said before, she said, let's not make it about money. And I think that on this level, that has to be our commitment, to not make it about money. But there are certain entities in this world that it's all about money. You know, health, it's not about healing, it's about money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Business, and it's not about giving the people an opportunity to have a living wage, you know, and having the type of health coverage and all of these types of things that they need. It's about money and who's making it and what power does it confer upon those who are making it. And we have to, what I get out of what sis said when she said, let's not make it about money, is that's taking our power back. You know, that's taking our power back. How does that relate to your diabetic condition that you allowed to begin to take ownership over the life that you was living? You know?
Yeah, because when we continue to talk about money that we feel we don't have, we're just keeping ourselves in a conversation that's not feeling to the place that we're trying to go. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like it's just repeating where we are and not making any progress.
That's right.
Okay, you know, black people and you know, in certain communities, you know, need to be able to take care of themselves and still enjoy, you know, whatever life has to offer. They should be able to get and do the things that they want to do. And it's people in other communities all around the world, people, places, black, whatever color they are, who don't have access to do things to, you know, that they may want to do to enjoy life on another level. But if we keep talking about that, you know, we're definitely not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Just because we're just talking about the so-called reality of what it is and how we feel about it, in reference to us and our daily lives. And if it doesn't feel good to talk about, and it's nowhere that you can go and get that right now, this second, tonight, then we should, you know, talk about what we can do right this second, tonight, to make life better, you know,
yeah.
to make life feel better and therefore become better. You know,
no doubt. Brother Kende says, and I like, you know, where he's going. He says there are laws that dictate the health of the human body. You know, there are universal laws. There's not just laws, you know, like worldly laws, but there's universal laws. And our ignorance of those universal laws doesn't stop us from suffering the penalties of violating those universal laws.
True.
It's just like in society, they say the ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you can't be violating a public law, so to speak, and you get arrested and you tell the cop, I didn't know. They say ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's the same thing with universal law.
Wow.
You know? And we got to begin to take ownership of the higher faculties, man, of this life that we're living. And this society has not really promoted that. Coming from a black perspective, you know, at one point in time, it was made punishable by death for us to learn to read and write. You know? And that was a law because there was an institution called slavery that was being maintained. And they wanted the people who were enslaved to accept that lowly lot in life. You know? As long as I keep you ignorant, you know, there's an old saying, knowledge rules the world while ignorance bears the burden. They wanted the enslaved to just bear that burden and think that this is how it's supposed to be. And they knew that if the sunlight of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and truth was adopted by the enslaved, that before long there would be rebellions. So this is why they made it punishable by death for us to learn to read and write. Today it's not punishable by death for you to learn to read and write, but in some circles, it can make you a very unpopular person. If you choose knowledge, wisdom, understanding, truth, if you begin to tear yourself away from the habits and customs that are popular amongst your friends, associates, and neighbors, and you begin to live a different lifestyle, there are some who will say, yo, who the hell does N-word think he is? And then it's going to be based upon how much courage you have and how much discipline and commitment you have to fight for the higher conception of the life that you say you want to live. Or are you just going to give up and fall, you know, backslide and fall back? And I'm challenging you, no, you got to continue to fight to bring forth what you are supposed to bring forth. And these things do not have to, we got to find how the pieces to the puzzle, we got to find the synergy or how they complement one another. Instead of, we was talking about the jigsaw puzzle last week. Mm-hmm. How, follow me on this. There's a lot of different systems and beliefs out there. And instead of us fighting over which one is better, wouldn't it be much better if we cooperated on finding how these systems of belief complement one another? To show a picture that we all can enjoy and benefit from. And how do we go about doing that? I work with young people. And a lot of times when you're working with young people, you might be playing Uno, you might be playing spades, you might bust out a jigsaw puzzle. And when you have one of those giant 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, you can put all of the pieces on a table, and as an individual, you can begin to work it out. It's going to take you longer to do it, but you can do it, you know. But a lot of times I've seen that when one person starts messing with the jigsaw puzzle, then a second person is going to come over and start messing with the jigsaw puzzle too. And now you got two people trying to figure out how these pieces fit with one another. Then a third and a fourth. And now we're having fun together, trying to put these pieces of the puzzle together. Mm-hmm. And this is, I believe, how we got to treat some of the belief systems, some of the strategies that some of us have adopted instead of fighting with each other. Because if we fight with each other and we say, well, yo, forget that piece that you got, just focus on my piece. it's going to take much longer for us to figure out what this picture actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I mean, just get started. And start from where you're at. You know, start from where you're at. And I would say start with, you know, when I say start with where you're at, start with the life that you have. And then begin, you know, take the time and figure out, you know, create like a short-term, long-term, step-by-step process that's going to take you to where you say you want to be.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll give credit to the people, you know, that's watching and has watched in the past who might not be here tonight, you know, that you are taking, you know, a step by even tuning in.
Yeah.
You know, that you already have taken steps to the point where you are tuning in, because there was, you know, points in our lives where we weren't at the place to talk and to speak, you know, about the things that we're speaking about here tonight. You know, and I could definitely speak for myself. I would not, you know, have any, you know, I couldn't fathom, you know, being where I am talking about what I'm talking about tonight. So I just assume that, you know, those who are watching have been in a place where you weren't having these type of conversations. So, you know, we got to give credit to all of us for even being where we are right now and talking about what we're talking about, that we have already taken steps.
No doubt.
Look at this right here, right? Steps, right?
Already, brother. Can you put that picture up? The last
taking steps.
Yeah. All right, we can start with that one.
Which one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, they're seeing that right now?
Yeah.
Can we? Okay. Cause this got you. Cause I was gonna say it's frozen on this screen. Now check this out, family. This is a step-by-step process when you begin to awaken to your own life and how you may have participated, even if unwillingly. You know, you've participated in the past in being stuck. You know, being stuck based upon how other people are going to regard you. Like you might want to see yourself as a great individual, but you're looking for other people to see you as that great individual before you begin to do great things.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with that self-awareness that I am a life, that I have the power to choose and decide how I'm going to live this life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first thing that some of us do is we want to seek security. Most of us don't want to step out on a limb. Most of us don't want to come and sit in front of a screen with a microphone, all eyes on me. You know? And or get up on stage.
That's a fear. That's the most common fear, they said.
Most definitely.
In front of people. Yeah.
Most definitely. Now, your self-awareness, it begins with your self-awareness. Then, as you begin to become comfortable with being aware of you and who you are at the moment and who you want to become, then you begin to explore. Well, what am I going to do with this life now that I know that I have power, you know, of choice?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to begin to do with it? I would say, and I think Sister Ella was talking about this earlier, I think that you don't let anyone tell you. Don't let anyone tell you what you should be doing with your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of times people are selfish. And you know, and you know, they're gonna use your life. If you don't find any positive use for your life, someone else is gonna find a positive use for your life. That's positive for them, not necessarily positive for you.
the best thing that anybody could tell you or ask you is, well, what is it that you want to do? Because if anybody is telling you, they're only going off of their own opinions and their own, what they like, and their experiences and, whatever it is that they conclusions that they've come to. So no one could ever tell you for you. You have to explore, within yourself. You have to find your own path and your own ways and the things that make you comfortable and happy. So self exploration is just what it is. It's exploring you, and really, the awareness part that comes before that is kind of understanding that a lot of you may be based on what you've gotten from other people. A lot of who you have become is what is maybe, came from your parents and like Brother Mike said earlier, and your great grandparents, and down the line. So who are you? That's the exploration. Like, okay, well, what do I like? What makes me feel good? What makes me feel bad? What is it that I'm attracted to? What sparks me? So yeah, that's self exploration, asking those questions.
And it's about, who are you living this life for? You should be living this life first and foremost for yourself. If you're living this life for anybody outside of yourself, first and foremost, you're most likely, you're not going to like the life that you're living if you're living it for someone outside of yourself. You should be living this life for yourself. You should be focusing on building a life that you're comfortable with, that you like living.
Right.
Because if you don't like living a life, then that's when you're going to begin to be more susceptible to, trying to find agreement or find, for someone to agree or for someone to, or to seek fulfillment through some type of lower conception, than just living the life and manifesting from, the creativity, the imagination that you have. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was jumping in on what you were saying. Like I just thought about social media, and I mean, not, even off of social media, people are living a life for what it looks like, just for what it looks like, even though you don't. I always talk about doing things that other people want you to do, because we do it all the time, like going out, getting dressed up, going out when you just want to stay home. Doing it for everybody else, doing it for what it looks like, because, I want other people to feel good, I want to keep up my reputation. So I got to be there. I got to show up and I got to, show out, because they're expecting me to be there. They're expecting me to look a certain way. So even though I don't want to dress this way, I got to put on this outfit because they're expecting me to come through hard, even though my feet hurt, even though I got knee issues, I got to wear these, 4-inch heels, because that's how they expect me to come through. So, like,
even though I'm broke, even though I'm broke, that mom said they in your pocketbook. If you got some type of situation like the one Sister Ella talking about, your friends is in your pocketbook, they in your bank account,
but they not paying your hospital bills when you got to get that, that knee looked upon, please. Come on, y'all. Come on.
Nah, we got to do what feels good to ourselves. There's a level of self-respect, of self-love, of dignity that we have to be able to maintain, And because we've been disconnected from the pathway, back towards our highest expression of the life that we live, we've been stuck in our fleshly, the lower vibrations of the flesh. So instead of people striving to connect themselves to the truth and to where the truth leads on those higher and higher levels, those degrees of truth, to go as high as they personally can in their relationship with the truth. We've had the exact reverse effect. We've had an arrogant ignorance being born in our communities, where people go to the extreme to show how ignorant they could be. I don't care about you. I don't care about nothing. You know? And it's not necessarily that they don't care. It's that they've been robbed of believing that they can have anything higher than that. So it's really a self-defense mechanism.
Right. That, I think that was it seemed like at a point where everybody started like putting up the middle finger in their pictures. Yeah. I was just talking about that the other night. And it's like, well, who are you putting up the middle finger to? The people that you think is watching you, that don't like you, or the ones who love you? You know, because everybody, they're all seeing that. So who are you doing that to? You know, as opposed to you just showing love, period. And even to the ones who's watching you, like, still being love, regardless of how they feel about you. You know, instead you're, you know, showing negativity to everybody just to shoot at a couple of people. I think, and
like you said, I think it's more so that they just want to put up this facade.
Right.
You know, that I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care about them. I don't care about nobody. And it's really an act.
Right.
It's really a facade, you know, for the most part, you know, because talking about love, showing that you care, it makes you vulnerable. And most people don't want to be vulnerable.
They don't want to be vulnerable, yeah.
You know? Most people don't want to take a try at, yo, I'm going to start this business. Or I'm going to start this show called The Wake Up Project. You know? Or I'm going to, you know, get out there and I'm going to begin to run the track. You know? Yeah, I know I don't look as smooth as I would like to, you know, being 200 pounds overweight. But it's not about looking smooth. It's about loving that, you know, coming into a loving of that life, to know that this life is valuable, it's special. And if I can begin to let go of some of the dead weight that's holding me down, not only can I begin to feel better about myself, but I can share from that feeling better about myself to give love to my wife now, instead of being bitter and angry because I don't like my life. Because I don't like my life, I can't give love to my wife. You get what I'm saying? So, but when I begin to, I started off, I'm like 400 pounds. Follow me, because of course I'm not 400 pounds right now, but I got about 30 pounds that I would like to get rid of too. You know, and that I'm fighting to get rid of. You know? As you begin, you commit yourself to go into the track 3 times a week. You know, walking the track or jogging the track, let's say for an hour each time. And you begin to commit yourself to letting go of some of the chemical processed, you know, saturated fats, you know what I mean, foods, sugar-laden foods. You begin to eat better. You begin to exercise. You begin to drop some of that weight. Not only do you get amped up by hearing outside people saying, yo, I see you. You lost some weight, didn't you? That's a wonderful feeling. But also, like Brother Kende was saying earlier, man, when you get up in the morning and instead of seeing the same old you that's made promises, that's made declarations over the years that you didn't keep, and falling further and further down in depression and anger towards yourself for letting yourself down. But now as you commit yourself to that process and you see catch a glimpse of yourself in that mirror, and you see your muscle tone starting to improve, you see that belly starting to, disappear? And you start walking in that, knowing that, wow, I committed myself to a goal and I'm accomplishing that goal. No alcohol, no substance, nothing can match that feeling of beginning to know and show
Seeing the results.
that you have the opportunity to create positive results in your own life. And that's about you versus you. You, the spiritual being, versus you, the flesh, the temple, the body temple, the flesh-based being, that houses the spirit. That's that's the real you. The spirit is the real you. Without the spirit, the flesh is nothing. There's nothing to animate it. And that's what's known as dying. So the real you is the spirit that's inside. The problem is a lot of times is that we move at the beck and call of what the flesh wants instead of committing ourselves to move from the spirit.
From the inside out.
From
like
the
you always
inside
say.
out.
Yeah. And that's a good representation, you said of the, working out and losing weight or whatever. Like that is, that's physical, but it's a representation of that, inside spirit working, working on yourself and then seeing the results in the ending and not trying to see the results before you actually do the working on yourself. And we were talking about that earlier. People, it holds you back when you don't see what it is that you want to see when you begin the work. But you gotta wait. You gotta wait. You gotta do it. You just have to do it, and you have to forget about the seeing of it, but you just have to know what you're doing is going to eventually be that, and you have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy the process in between you getting to where you want to go. I listened to Abraham Hicks, who has many books and videos about self-development and spiritual growth, and she tells a story about going somewhere, taking a trip, a road trip to a certain destination, and then turning around and going back to where you came from because it's taking you too long to get to where you want to go, instead of enjoying the trip. Enjoy the path that you're on, the stops that you're going to have in between, to see the scenes, the sights that you see on the road, instead of thinking about, damn, it's taking me too long to get to where I'm going. And that's what we do. We say, oh, I don't see the destination, but what about in between? If we're always at the destination, then what's the point of the trip? What's the point? Like the trip is the joy. The joy is in the trip. The joy is in going. It's in everything that happens in between. If life is a journey, it begins in one place and it so-called ends in another place. And if you just want to get to the destination, then what does that mean? Then that means you don't live.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you reminded me when people say, I just want Friday to get here.
Right.
And it's Monday. Like, what about, you just want Friday to get here? Like, what about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
There's so much that can happen in between.
Positively, I mean, you don't have to just let life happen to you. You can begin to happen to life, and
that is what life is.
That's right. That's right. And I tell you, family, I mean, being angry, showing how tough you can be, I understand it. I dig it because we've inherited a dark and decaying world that we're living in. And there is a paradigm, a racial, class-based paradigm. And a lot of us are we're very far disconnected from who we can be, who we need to be. And a lot of us, like we were saying, a lot of us, feel that the best possible thing I can be is to be dismissive, of everything and everyone. But I hope that, from participating in a discussion, in a dialogue like this, I hope that we're showing and proving that there is a higher path. A higher path that to where your life lived properly, you can begin to encourage other people to find the same strength, to begin to move away from feeling like, life is and then you die, to once and for all beginning to be able to get up with joy, get up with purpose, to greet your neighbor, to overflow, encouragement into your significant others instead of holding them down to a paradigm of control. I don't have no control in my life, man, so I'm going to take advantage of my wife and make her live a life less than she can live so that I can dominate her. I can find some type of satisfaction in dominating her. To hold somebody down in the mud pit, you got to get in the mud pit. The prison that you create for somebody else is the prison that you create for yourself.
Yeah.
So I just say, family, as we, come to less than 10 minutes, we on the countdown to close out the show.
Wow.
I definitely missed you, Sister Ella, on the Wake Up Project with Brother Mike. And I'm definitely appreciative of you being here tonight. And we just gonna keep this going for as long as we can. And wow. Let me share some of the things that I'm trying to get to right now, and we'll close it out on that note.
Okay.
I've gone from living my life from the outside in to the inside out. The first 20 years of my life, I was living my life from the outside in, from the perspective of believing that to be black is to be inferior, is to be powerless, and that's all that you can aspire to. To growing to the point where I realized that there was a paradigm that some people were trying to hold us down to, and I began to rebel against that paradigm to the best of my ability. And I tried to use my life I wanted other people to rebel the same way, and at that point in time, it was more so about the rebellion than the claiming, for me. And I was holding people to that type of paradigm. So, I was very judgmental, and I wasn't that. I was a little judgmental.
I was about to say, I want to see the video.
I was a little judgmental. I was a little, condemning at times, because I lived in a community that was being taken advantage of by sellout politicians, by store owners that really didn't care about the services that they were, giving to the community. And, I was trying to do something about the environment that I was living in, and I was really out of my own flow, And then I found it started with me learning about certain universal laws, the law of attraction. It made me realize that I was doing this thing all wrong. That I was by opposing racism, I kept the focus on the racism. And my focus on racism, on bigotry and prejudice and injustice, it didn't give me the permission to move towards the opposite of what those things are. And for the last 10 years, I've been striving to learn how to live my life in a process of becoming more loving, you know, first and foremost of myself, giving myself permission to love myself. And then moving towards being able to give myself permission to overflow or give other people permission to learn how to love as well. And I know that there's a lot of people outside of me that are still caught up in being hurt and being broken and being traumatized, that are not able to step in or make the jump from, or the shift from hurt people, as opposed to healed people can help
people
to heal and help other people. And that's how I'm striving to live my life from here on out. Am I concerned about a lot of the things that I see in society that's going on? Oh, most definitely I'm concerned. But I know that the best positive thing that I can personally do about some of the injustices, some of the trauma that has been visited upon us, is to role model what living a healed and empowered and loving life looks like.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm striving to do.
I love that.
And so I embrace you. I embrace you who are still caught up in that pattern and feeling that you're stuck. I will never strive to ridicule someone who's still caught in a paradigm that I used to be subjected to. And I hope that at some point in time, you will allow yourself to shift the paradigm from nurturing a core of bitterness and hate towards nurturing a core of self-love, empathy, compassion, so that we can begin to turn the light on in this dark and decaying world and give other people permission to join on. Sister Ella?
Yes, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I could feel that was really, coming from deep and a place that you had to, get that out. So thank you for sharing that, Brother Mike.
Already, sis.
Yeah, we're here as, when Brother Mike says shining a light, the song came to my head, Shine a Light on Them, that they have for the birthday or whatever. Shine a light on them. Shine a light on them.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think we have to wait until it's our birthdays for us to shine a light. I think that we need to be shining, and we need to take we need to really own our lights and not dim them down for anyone, anywhere, anytime. I had a situation at my job, or a conversation where the supervisor was telling me, maybe you don't want to, be so, do that or say that. And I was like, I am me wherever I go. I don't change when I come here, and that's how I got here, as a matter of fact. And that's how I am determined to get anywhere that I want to be, by being me wherever I go, regardless of what anybody else thinks or says. But I appreciate the ones who are with me, and that's what we're here. Those are the conversations that I and Brother Mike are having about the people who are with us, as opposed to those who are not. And it's okay, wherever you are, because we've been there, so it's no rush, as a matter of fact, and it's no judgment. We're here and we're going to be there, where we're moving towards. And it's an open door for those hearts and those who are, attracted and who are able to join in these conversations, that we welcome you. and and we're available. And I'm grateful for being here, Brother Mike. For thank you for still keeping in contact with me, and I have my moments and my times, and I'm still growing on my journey. And I'm grateful to have you reach out to me in the first place. How you said earlier about you just seeing me online, and I saw you even before you saw me. Haha. And I admired you and the things that you talked about, and I just saw someone who definitely reminded me of myself. So I appreciate being here with you, and I'm going to continue to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. All right, we coming down, family. Doesn't it feel good? It feels good when you start focusing on positivity, disconnecting yourself from suffering. Like family, we don't have to suffer. We don't. And I'm going to do the best that I can to continue to prove that to you. I'm going to continue to take the time that I need to take to bring forth the best life that I could bring. I'm breaking all association and contact with former conceptions of myself when I was participating in any negative habit, practice, or custom. And let's move forward. Let's move forward. There's things that we can bring forth, that we can give birth to. And I say, by all means, let's do it. Thank you for everyone who came on the line, the Facebook Live tonight.
Yes, thank you.
We're getting ready to close out the show.
And everyone who will watch in the future.
Peace. And if I ain't say your name, don't do what my mom did and put me on blast. But I see Sister Silverina, Sister Lorraine.
That's my mom. Yeah, that's my mother.
Hi, Sister Lorraine.
I shouted you out.
I shouted you out
Don't
too.
Don't beat me.
Chill out. My man, Panther with Wings. Tamik Amin Ra. I need you back too, family. Maybe in the next couple of weeks we could get like a triumvirate,
yes,
so to speak.
Room here.
And we can build, the three of us up here. Sister Bren, my brother George. That's about it. That's all I see for now. I'm going to make some comments, as the night before the night is out. I'm going to thank everyone personally in the comment thread. It's kind of hard to do that while you're doing the show. So I say have a peaceful, prosperous, and elevated evening, family.
And life.
And we'll catch up with you next Sunday. Peace.
Peace.